families speaking out, calling for justice as teens continue to be caught up in Baltimore's violence. FOX45 News shining a light on the ongoing crisis. And BGE is submitting a request for rate hikes in the wake of Mayor Scott's controversial conduit deal. How much more the utility company wants you to pay.
And we're off to a much colder start this morning. I'll let you know exactly what this means for the rest of your weekend temperatures in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you. You are here at the perfect time because look at that sky. Thanks for being with us this Saturday, February 18th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get right to your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson. So when should folks walk the dog this morning?
Well, if they're going to walk the dog, bundle up, right? It's cold out there, way colder than it was at this time yesterday, so not nearly as pleasant. Within the past 24 hours, our temperatures have fallen and are now down about 30 degrees in most locations. So if you're wondering, what does that mean this morning as I step out the door? It means we're starting off in the mid-20s. We're all below freezing this morning. And today's actually going to be a much colder day, a more seasonable day. That wintry chill is back, at least briefly. We've got all sunshine today, so I'd say this afternoon, better time to spend some time outside. At that point, temperatures will be improving and warming above freezing and in the mid and upper 40s. And actually, the second half of the weekend is going to be even milder. I'll walk you through your temperature timeline hour by hour in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
The city in crisis this morning. Clarity from the fallout from the mayor's BGE deal for the conduit system. Now, it's been approved and the utility is proposing rate hikes for all customers, not just city residents. It's in its multi-year plan that was just filed with state regulators. Now, here's a closer look at how much you could pay if those hikes are approved. Your monthly bill would go up by an average of $10.36 each year. That means you'd pay $124 more annually for utilities. Now, you can see all this breakdown of the cost on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Now, BGE filed the request with the Maryland Public Service Commission yesterday afternoon, just 2 days after the conduit deal was approved by Mayor Brandon Scott and his appointees on the Board of Estimates. Some city officials say the city's conduit deal was rushed.
There's 9% inflation right now. I don't think anybody disputes whether or not the rates are going to go up, but this would allow them to not go up as much.
So this administration has decided to unilaterally support this private institution that has a statewide operation on the backs of Baltimore City residents.
Again,
in a rushed fashion.
That was Nick Mosby there. Baltimore City Comptroller Bill Henry and Council President Nick Mosby spoke to members of City Senate delegation just yesterday, outlining their frustration with this deal. Now, those two skipped the Board of Estimates meeting in protest after calling for the conduit deal to be taken off of the agenda. It follows your vote in November to approve a charter amendment blocking the sale of the conduit system, a 700-mile network of pipes that carry utility wires throughout the city. Now, critics claim the mayor's deal goes against the spirit of the vote and gives too much authority to the underground utilities and to BGE. Mayor Scott still is supporting this deal despite questions about this timetable. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned him earlier this week about the criticism and why he's pushing hard for this deal.
Do you have anything to gain personally from this contract?
Mackenzie, that's the most disrespectful questions you've ever asked me. No, I don't have anything personal to gain. I do what's right for Baltimore, not what's right for me.
Mayor Scott, if you lose re-election, would you work for BG&E?
Mackenzie, two things for sure. I'm not losing re-election, and I'm not working for BG&E. I'm never going to work for BG&E. That's not what I do. I'm a public servant, and that's how I live my life.
Does that mean you are running for re-election? Is that a commitment?
No, I am.
Baltimore City Council member Zeke Cohen has been among the louder critics, saying the conduit deal is a brutal indictment of the mayoral system in Baltimore.
It looks terrible. The process has been rushed. People, communities feel shut out. Elected officials feel shut out. And it looks like this was a power play between the mayor and BGE.
Now, Cohen is proposing a complete overhaul of the Board of Estimates, replacing appointed and elected members with people from the community who he argues would be better reflections of what's best for Baltimore.
It's not a situation where I want it to become a political tussle between the mayor and the council president or anybody else. This is an opportunity for Baltimoreans, those of us that live here, that are sending our kids to school here, that deal with the day-to-day issues that but that love our city to have a voice in reshaping it.
Now, Comptroller Bill Henry said he would have been open to the deal if the terms were, quote, good for Baltimore. But Henry says he doesn't believe that's the case. Comptroller Henry will join us live on Fox 45 Morning News tomorrow to hear him weigh in. Check in with us at 8:30 rather, for this discussion. Elsewhere in a city in crisis, a 16-year-old is in police custody this morning for the murder of another 16-year-old. You recall this had happened outside of Edmondson Westside High School, part of a youth crime crisis that both suspects are becoming victims and suspects here. Fox 45's Keith Daniels has more on the family's call for justice. Keith.
Outside the Clarence Mitchell Jr. Courthouse in downtown Baltimore, family members wipe the grief away, and there is a touch on the shoulder for comfort. The father, stepmother, and aunt of murdered 16-year-old Deontay Dorsey shed tears while their lawyer talks about the gun violence that struck Dorsey and continues to grip other young people in the city.
As seriously as we take every child victim in this city, we also have to take seriously the crimes that are being committed by juveniles.
The family is outside the courthouse on the same day Dorsey's accused killer, a 16-year-old boy, appears for a bail hearing. At that hearing, a revelation. As reported by the Baltimore Banner, the 16-year-old suspect charged with murdering Dorsey was on juvenile probation for a prior gun charge when police say he opened fire last month on a crowd of students across from Edmondson Westside High School, killing Dorsey, wounding 4 other students. Baltimore District Judge Flynn Owens cited the teen suspect's juvenile record when denying him bail. Youth violence amid the debate over State Senator Jill Carter's controversial bill that would prevent juveniles from being tried as adults, even for crimes like murder. Carter says the Youth Equity Act is necessary because kids' brains aren't fully developed until at least 25 years old.
The very children under our current law that could be automatically charged as an adult, tried by a jury, are not even eligible to serve on a jury because they're under the age of 18. So right there, you're talking about a major hypocrisy and inconsistency in our system.
Still, back at the courthouse, Dorsey's family, hoping the 16-year-old suspect in their loved one's case remains in adult court.
Justice has to be done, not on street corners, but in courthouses.
Now, critics say there are serious concerns about Senator Jill Carter's bill. It would automatically begin cases involving juveniles in the youth justice system. Now, currently, teens can be charged as adults, and some victim advocate groups say if the bill passed, it would be a slap in the face to victims.
Even on the most serious offenses, you're talking about taking an individual and putting him into a program for 6 to 9 months and then returning him to the street.
Some are also concerned because juvenile records are sealed, meaning it may be impossible to know someone has committed a violent crime in the past. Now, if you want to contact your area lawmaker about crime in your community, go ahead. Just point your phone at this QR code that's on your screen. It'll take you to our website, which lists the official email and phone numbers of your local state senators and delegates. A plastic bag bill signed into law in Baltimore County. How long you will have to get a reusable one before you could see a fee every time you shop.
And we're off to a chilly start this weekend, but temperatures will eventually warm back up. We'll spend today in the 40s, but tomorrow the 50s are already back. I'll let you know where these temperatures are trending next week and when we are tracking our next chance for rain in just a couple of minutes. It's 7:09. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Happening now, bring your own bag officially coming to Baltimore County. It bans single-use plastic bags. County Executive Johnny Olszewski signed off on this measure. It'll be enforced starting next year.
Well, I was proud to support the legislation when the council put it in. Thrilled to see it passed. Grateful again to our partners. Let's sign this thing into law.
Now, in addition to banning single-use plastic bags, the bill also imposes a 5-cent fee for paper bags. This reflects similar policies already in effect in Baltimore City. Happening now, it's Shop Maryland Energy Weekend, meaning there's no 6% sales tax on some really big household items. We're talking washers, dryers, refrigerators that qualify as Energy Star. They'll be eligible for savings. Comptroller Brooke Learman will be live on Fox 45 Morning News today at 9 o'clock, and she's going to explain the push behind this tax-free holiday weekend. Squeegee Kid donations have been open for nearly a month. Fox 45 News is looking into if residents are actually giving and why financial experts don't expect much. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Taking a live look over the White House this morning, where President Joe Biden is addressing the recent shoot-downs of unknown objects. And whatever those objects turn out to be, it begs the question, what else is flying around in our skies? Stephen Dunn with our Sinclair sister station in Portland spoke with a former Navy pilot about his concerns in the air and that to this day remain unexplained.
National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby spilled the beans during a recent White House press briefing.
These unidentified aerial phenomena have been reported for many years without explanation or deep examination by the government.
Unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, is what the government calls a UFO. Then President Joe Biden came forward Thursday to say recent tweaks to radar filters helped spot those unknown aerial objects he ordered shot down.
I want to be clear. We don't have any evidence that there has been a sudden increase in the number of objects in the sky. We're now just seeing more of them, partially because the steps we've taken to increase our radars.
However, a new report released last month from the Office of the Director of the National Intelligence suggests what also increased is the reporting of UAP sightings by U.S. military members. Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley and other members of Congress were briefed on the shoot-downs. We asked him for his thoughts about that report.
We set up a group called Arrow that is trying to understand what we know about each object, and the fact is many of them we know nothing about them.
In fact, of the 500 military sightings compiled by the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, more than 170 still remain unexplained.
The systems that we're engaging on the East Coast, could maybe be categorized a bit more as higher tech and lower observability in a lot of cases.
That's former U.S. Navy pilot Ryan Graves. He came forward to raise awareness about the UAPs he and fellow aviators witnessed and tracked while flying the FA-18 Super Hornet.
We were almost hitting these objects. They were flying within 50 feet of our aircraft at times. And so we had to take this seriously as a very pragmatic issue.
My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Sightings like what Graves describes were documented in 2 Navy videos that came out in 2017, both confirmed by the Pentagon as unidentified. Graves says the path forward is not complicated when we're investigating a foreign adversary's balloon or drone, but if something else entirely, more transparency is required.
And if it's something else, then that should fall under the purview of scientific curiosity, and we need to engage our academic institutions, our industry, and our other tools that we have to engage and understand this.
A hobbyist group says one of its balloons went missing in the region where the U.S. military shot down one of 3 unidentified aerial objects. According to the Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Brigade, the group's balloon was spotted early Saturday off the coast of Alaska. The same day, the military shot down an unidentified object. The first object the military shot down, a suspected spy Chinese balloon, was located shortly after it was brought down. The whereabouts of the other 3 unknown objects, well, Republicans want answers, and the president says he does too.
There are reportings, though, coming out that they are just mere hobbyist balloons that may have been worth as little as $12. And it seems like we missed the big balloon and let the other 3 that were not a threat, we shot them down.
We don't yet know exactly what these 3 objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country.
Now, the brigade group says they fill these balloons with hydrogen, which can rise to about 57,000 feet in the air. So the object that was unknown, reportedly floating around 47,000 feet, they think it might be theirs. I don't know. All right, meteorologist Amy Aronson, a lot floating around in the sky yesterday with the rain, but today drying out maybe.
Yeah, definitely dry, much like we ended yesterday, but now the colder temperatures are moving in. Now, one nice thing we're seeing is that our sunrise times are getting earlier and earlier, and our sunset times are getting a little later. I noticed this last night at 5 o'clock, still sunny out, so that was a treat. 6:54 this morning, that was our sunrise. Sunset not happening until 5:46 this evening. In just 1 week, we moved that sunrise to 6:45 a.m. and we moved that sunset back about 10 minutes to 5:54. And then in 2 weeks, by the time we kick off March, sunrise happening just after 6:30, sunset happening right around 6 o'clock. And then within 3 weeks, sunrise at 6:24 in the morning, sunset at 6:10 almost. And then we spring forward right after that on March 12th. And of course, after that, we'll get even more sunlight in the evening hours. We're starting off with some sunshine this morning. Looking downtown, things look pretty. We've got blue skies, we've got sunshine. What we don't have, the mild temperatures. We're actually starting off below freezing, mid-20s to begin, upper 40s to end today. Cool start to the weekend. It will be dry today and tomorrow. And tomorrow it's actually going to be not quite as cold either. So we've got one chilly, wintry day ahead of us today. Not much happening. A cold front moved through yesterday. That has since moved on. Behind that, we're welcoming back some sunshine. You can see the clouds are clearing here in the last frame of this weather map. Now let's track temperatures today because we're not tracking rain chances. We end up in the mid and upper 40s this afternoon. Overnight tonight, another chilly one. Temperatures will fall and drop back into the low 30s by Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, though, a little better. You'll notice the green reappears on the map here, and our temperatures will warm. And we do end up back in the mid and upper 50s at that point. So we've got a long weekend ahead of us for President's Day. Leading up to that holiday, we've got sunshine today and tomorrow. Temperatures climb from the upper 40s back into the mid 50s. And by Monday for the holiday, we're actually flirting with 60 degrees. I'm also tracking increasing clouds, but I think we should stay dry at least through Monday. After that, we've got a series of low pressure systems, little weather makers that are going to roll through and send us a couple of chances for some showers. I think we'll add some spotty showers back into the mix on Tuesday. Rain will linger Wednesday into Thursday, but look at these numbers. Another mild February week ahead of us with highs in the low 60s Tuesday to Wednesday, low 70s by Thursday before temperatures return to the mid 50s by week's end. Taylor?
New changes coming to Netflix. The once helpful feature Netflix is ditching. And a wise man once said, I always thought tea was going to taste like hot brown water. And you know what? I was right. Still ahead, the ice cream flavor honoring one of TV's favorite coaches. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. We want to begin your consumer news with a recall alert. Now, these 8-ounce bags of Valentine's Day branded chocolate-covered caramels were from Target. They've been voluntarily recalled. They contain tree nuts, which is not noted on the packaging. People who have allergies to tree nuts run the risk of serious or life-threatening allergic reactions if they consume these products. And keep in mind, they're packed in bags with lot number 33822 and have a best-by date of December 7th, 2023. So far, no illnesses have been reported. Well, Netflix has removed its Surprise Me button. The feature was added in 2021 and intended to help people not have to sort through all these countless titles just to find something to watch. The company says it was removed because it was underused. Netflix says it will continue to look for other ways to help users with more options to find the content that interests them. The last remaining Blockbuster in the U.S. didn't even know there was still one around. It released a Super Retro Bowl ad on social media during the big game, and now their sales are up by 200%. The one remaining store in Oregon posted the ad on social media since it couldn't afford to pay the $7 million for a spot on TV, but they certainly got their money's worth. The retro-themed commercial struck a chord with people who remember the good old days of roaming through the store and down those aisles to find a new release. Oh, speaking of the Super Bowl, more than 100 million sports betting transactions were placed during Super Bowl weekend, which is up 25% compared to last year. That's according to GEO Comply, a company that processes geolocation checks to verify online sports betting transactions. Super Bowl 57, one of the first played in a state where sports gambling is now legal. Barstool Sports has a new owner. It's now fully owned by a casino operator and entertainment company, Penn Entertainment. The company completed its previously announced acquisition of the property on Friday, and Penn said it paid $388 million for the 64% stake in Barstool it did not already own. Now, everyone soon can share in the delight of Ted Lasso's famous biscuits. Fans of the show can now enjoy Biscuits with the Boss flavored ice cream made by Jenny's. It'll be available starting in March on the 2nd, and the name and flavor drawing inspiration from Jason Sudeikis' character, Ted Lasso. He's baking homemade shortbread biscuits every morning to enjoy his TV boss. We are one day away from Daytona 500. In our next half hour, we're learning more about the polarizing driver who's kicking off his NASCAR season with a brand new team. And we're looking dry today, but the cold temperatures are moving on in. Meteorologist Amy Aronson will let us know when we can expect a warm up. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
And happy Saturday morning to you. It's a gorgeous day out there, but definitely a little chilly. Thanks for being with us this Saturday, February 18th. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get right to your forecast. Start off your weekend right. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with some blue in her maps.
Yeah, lots of blue. The blue is back. The cold is back. I'm breaking out the wind chill map again this morning. I feel like all the weekends have been cold, despite the nice, mild February weeks. We're starting off feeling like we're in the teens this morning, so actual temperatures are in the 20s. You factor in just a little bit of a breeze, and this is how cold it feels. So that's what you want to dress for if you're stepping out for a jog, a run, maybe a nice walk with the dog. Bundle up. Layers will be key today for anything you're doing outside. Now, we do have sunshine this afternoon, but high temperatures will actually be stuck in the 40s, which puts us closer to where we should be for this time of year. Tomorrow, temperatures will improve. I am tracking a few extra clouds, but temperatures will return to the mid-50s. And that's just the start of another warming trend, actually. I'll let you know exactly when the 60s, the 70s are back this week in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
Thanks, Amy. In a city in crisis, we're following two big stories this morning. The Squeegee collaborative push for donations has not raised very much money. Why one tax expert thinks people are not donating. Plus, a 15-year-old girl is in the hospital fighting for her life after a shooting in Baltimore. It's the latest in a string of violence against young people. Mayor Brandon Scott is now voicing his frustration. A former Baltimore police officer is offering some insight into the youth crime crisis. FOX45's Alexa Ashwell has the concerning data and the perspective on juvenile violence.
When looking at homicides and non-fatal shootings, statistics show more than 300 juveniles have fallen victim to either of those two crimes here in Baltimore over the past 4 years, and many worry that trend will continue throughout 2023.
There's a shooting. There's a female was shot in the head.
The 15-year-old Merville High School freshman shot outside of an elementary middle school is one of the latest crimes committed against juveniles here in Baltimore.
Another incident where we have a young male or female who's a victim of gun violence in our city, and we just got to stop it.
She is a freshman at Merville. This is the third time that we have seen trauma impact this school this academic year.
Statistics from the Baltimore Police Department troubling. Since 2019, at least 229 juveniles have been shot in Baltimore. In addition, at least 82 juveniles have been murdered.
The numbers are staggering.
Former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson weighing in on the data. Here, a year-to-year breakdown of the non-fatal shootings and homicides. The statistics showing 2022 had the highest number of juveniles injured in non-fatal shootings and the second highest number of homicides. Johnson pointing out the number of juveniles shot so far this year is already nearly double the number shot during this same time frame in 2022, which, according to the data, was one of the more violent years for young people.
There are probably several reasons, but I think the number one reason is lack of consequences.
As for this most recent case involving the Merville High School teen, no arrests have been made, the department not yet providing any suspect description. In Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Now, the violence is driving one mother to pull her child out of a Baltimore City school. Kawana Perry's son was a student at Merville High School, but she's worried after the two students who've been shot this year. Perry says the school is not taking the proper precautions to keep children safe.
It is horrible to think that your children cannot attend school and feel safe. Now, these recent situations are starting to occur. I just need peace in knowing that my child is safe going to school, but they don't have a safety plan. So what is a parent to do?
Now, this mother says the other school options she was given are not safe either, in her opinion. Her hope is to move her son to virtual learning or possibly even homeschooling. 19-year-old Darian Gamble is in police custody this morning. He's charged in a double shooting in Northeast Baltimore that happened back on February 4th. Police say Gamble shot a 60-year-old woman and a 17-year-old man along Medford Road. He's charged with attempted first-degree murder and remains at central booking. Elsewhere in a city in crisis, the Baltimore Squeegee Collaborative has been in place for a month now, and the mayor's office is asking for donations to pay Squeegee kids as part of the plan. Fox 45's Olivia Dance is looking into the campaign and if residents are actually donating.
Throughout downtown Baltimore, the fundraising campaign for Squeegee Kids can be seen rotating through on these electric signs. It's not up right now, but I have seen it since standing here. But this specific sign off of Fleet Street is just blocks away from where Squeegee Kids are now banned. Driving through Baltimore, chances are you will likely come across Squeegee Kids.
I don't feel like you can come into Baltimore and not experience the Squeegee Kids.
For months, Squeegee Kids have been harassing drivers.
I feel like the idea of the Squeegee kids or boys or whatever is out there is like more of a negative image.
I know it's off-putting to a lot of people, especially if you're visiting and you're not from here.
But under Mayor Brandon Scott's new Squeegee Collaborative plan, Squeegee Kids are banned from 6 intersections across the city. On January 10th, that enforcement began, and Baltimore police confirmed that since then, 19 warnings have been given for pedestrians walking and standing in roadways.
I don't see any problem with giving warnings. The issue is with so few warnings given, it really makes you wonder if there's any enforcement going on at all.
Former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson worries that enforcement isn't really happening. And our cameras catching some Squeegee kids still coming back night after night. And now, as part of the mayor's plan, a city-backed campaign is asking residents to donate money to help fund Squeegee kids' goals.
These are really difficult economic times. Inflation is still high. You know, people are really pinched financially, and it's highly doubtful that any extra money they do have, they're going to send to Squeegee kids, which traditionally have been a problem in the city of Baltimore.
The campaign launched last month, advertised on electric signs downtown, is pushing donors to a website. But as of Friday, only $40 has been donated, nowhere near the campaign's goal. Taxpayer watchdog David Williams thinks the lack of donations speaks volumes.
Baltimore City folks seem to be voicing their opinion through this campaign is that they're not willing to pay to solve this, that this is the city's responsibility and the city needs to figure this out.
Some city residents we spoke to agree.
I feel like that's the part of it why some people don't want to help. They feel as though the misconduct is nothing going to do nothing but support the bad habits.
Some people in Baltimore probably had like negative experiences with the Squeegee kids, so sometimes people have one bad experience and that kind of taints whether or not they want to give to something like that.
Some residents we spoke to also think people are unaware of the campaign and just haven't seen these signs, which could be another reason there's so few donations. But David Williams thinks that even if people are aware, they would be unlikely to donate because this really should be the city's responsibility. For now, reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
It's one of the biggest drivers of inflation and something you can't live without: housing. I'm Atrell Nashar, and coming up, when rent and buying a home could get less expensive.
And I'm tracking a brief little cool down this weekend, at least to get things started. But after that, we're warming back up, back into the 50s and eventually the low 60s again. I'll let you know exactly when. We're also tracking some rain chances in the week ahead in a couple of minutes. It's 7:37. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Developing now, if you're renting or looking to buy a home, you know how high housing costs are. Mortgage rate, rent costs, they've been ticking up for the past couple of years. And now new inflation data released just this week shows housing costs made up mostly half of the rise of inflation overall. National correspondent Antra Alan-Shara reports on when those costs could come down.
It's a non-negotiable expense, one that's getting harder to keep up with: housing. 19 million renters are burdened by the expense, according to census data from the end of last year, and prices have only gone up since then. The Department of Housing and Urban Development considers it burdensome if housing accounts for more than 30% of household spending. For many, that threshold would be a relief. a barrier for saving up enough money to buy.
Owning, that's like the huge dream.
Gary Hall is currently renting a duplex in central Ohio, subsidized by the county. He lives with a roommate, works more than 40 hours a week, and struggles to make ends meet, putting that dream further out of reach.
Most houses that are nice go for $400 to $500. They're crazy prices.
But this week brought news that things may soon turn around.
Home builder sentiment is up for the second month in a row, according to the National Association of Home Builders, the biggest single month gain in a decade. And this could translate into more inventory and lower prices. The group CEO tells me he's cautiously optimistic.
I think the good news is that we're starting to hear that the delays in getting building materials are shorter than they used to be. The bad news is that they're still there.
They're hopeful since mortgage rates fell from a peak in November, but they're still most sensitive to the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes. And the Fed signaling more are coming and they'll stay high to bring inflation down to its 2% target. Lael Brainerd, who just stepped down as vice chair of the Fed to serve in the White House, predicts relief for renters is around the corner, saying last month rents based on new leases are decelerating sharply. And declines in housing services inflation are expected by the third quarter of this year. Home builders, buyers, renters are eager, some desperate, for proof prices are on a sustained downward trend. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
A life-saving tool could be easier to access starting in April. Why the FDA advisory panel is pushing to make over-the-counter Narcan available. The Daytona 500 only one day away. Up next, we'll take a look at one of the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR as he gears up for the big race. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Happening today, the FDA is one step closer to improving access to Narcan, the life-saving nasal spray. This as U.S. opioid overdoses went up 17% in 2021. Narcan works by blocking the effects of opioids on the brain for up to 90 minutes. It helps restore breathing and long enough to call an ambulance, at least. Now, this past week, 2 FDA advisory committees voted unanimously in making a nasal spray version of Narcan available over the counter. It's now up to the FDA's commissioner to make that final decision. That decision is expected at the end of March. The FDA is also making significant reforms to cosmetic regulations. This is the first time the group has done so in 80 years. Now, Senator Patty Murray from Washington discussed the new reforms and the changes people in the state could see. Tyra Majors from our Sinclair sister station in Seattle has the latest.
Lawmakers say since the FDA was first created in 1938, the agency has lacked the authority it needs to ensure personal care products people use are safe. These new reforms completely change things.
Is stuff that people come in really close contact with, and they use it all the time. So again, we are talking about lotions, deodorants, perfumes, toothpaste, hairspray, lipstick, eyeliners, and a lot more.
Senator Patty Murray says in the last few years, there have been a number of alarming reports of unsafe cosmetic products hurting consumers, from reports of asbestos in baby powder to carcinogens found in dry shampoo.
When, for example, asbestos was found in makeup products sold to young people just a few years back, the FDA itself said it didn't have the tools it needed to keep people safe, that the safety of cosmetics was largely up to the makers of those products.
Murray says one of the reforms ensures if people are getting hurt by products, whether that's hair loss, severe rashes, or something more serious like cancer, companies have to provide a contact number on their products so people can report issues they're having.
It requires companies to report to the FDA within 15 days of any serious issues that have been reported, so that the FDA knows and can take appropriate action.
The reforms also provide the FDA the authority to order mandatory recalls of cosmetic products and require manufacturers to register facilities with the FDA.
The bottom line is people need to be able to trust the products they use all the time are not going to hurt them and do not contain poisons.
So what does this mean for consumers? Sydney, an avid cosmetic user in Washington, says the new reforms will simply provide peace and confidence.
Up until now, cosmetic companies did not have to disclose ingredients if it was lower than a certain percentage, which as a consumer is so nerve-wracking.
Senator Murray says she's going to be watching closely to make sure the FDA is implementing these laws correctly. Tyra Majors, Como News.
Alrighty, let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson, because today it's going to be colder than it was yesterday, but not nearly as rainy, I'm guessing.
Not rainy, but yeah, definitely colder. We actually haven't seen a lot of below average temperature days so far this month. We started off colder than average, but then since then we've had mostly red days indicating above average temperatures. For this past week, for example, we started off in the upper 50s back on Monday, then we hit 60s, even a 70-degree day there on the 15th. But this weekend we are going to fill in another blue temperature day. If we take a look at the stats so far, with just over a week to go, we've got a normal average high of about 45 degrees. We're well above that with our average high at 54. We've actually seen 7 days now with temperatures in the 60s and actually a couple of 70-degree days thrown in there too. Pretty unusual for February. We are looking at sunshine right now, looking down at Towson. Little bit of a chill to begin, so it actually feels like winter. We have 20s and low 30s showing up on the board currently. Today's definitely going to be the colder of the 2 weekend days. Yes, we're starting off dry, and we will stay dry all weekend long, but I think come tomorrow, we'll start to see some clouds rolling back in. But today, all is quiet. High pressure passing by to our south. It's tomorrow that we see the clouds filter back in ahead of our next chance for rain. Now, that rain should hold off until later Monday. This forecast model showing a few showers trickle in during the afternoon Monday. I think they hold off until Monday night, and then Tuesday, that's when we get this next weather maker pushing in from the west, and that's going to send us a few more showers. Now, for today, you don't have to worry about any showers. It's just going to be chilly out there, so break out the layers for today if you're going to spend any time outside. High temperatures are actually exactly where they should be for this time of year. We should be in the upper 40s, and that's where we're headed today. Tonight, under increasing clouds, not quite as cold. Temperatures will actually stay just above freezing, with lows dipping back into the low 40s and upper 30s. Now, for President's Day on Monday, if you are lucky enough to have a holiday off, maybe you could spend some time outside because it's actually going to be even milder. I'm tracking increasing clouds, but we should stay mostly dry during the daylight hours, with highs ending up in the mid and upper 50s. Rain chances hold off until Tuesday. That's when that next weather maker moves in. I think our best chance of showers with that will actually come through midweek. And that's just the start of an unsettled end to this week. Although things start off dry and chilly, temperatures will be warming. The 60s are back with the rain Tuesday and Wednesday. Actually, another low 70-degree day come Thursday before we dry things out and cool things back down by week's end. Taylor?
All right, the Daytona 500 is only a day away, and one driver will be kicking off the NASCAR season with a brand new team. Kyle Busch signed with RCR Racing and had traded his number 18 Toyota for the number 8 Chevrolet. Now, Jill Nellick from our Sinclair sister station in Virginia has more on one of the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR.
I'm obviously excited about the chance and being with RCR and Chevrolet and driving the number 8 car, and it's going to be fun.
One of the biggest stars of NASCAR has a new team. After 15 seasons as the face of Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch is now the newest member of Richard Childress Racing and will be ditching the number 18 Toyota for the number 8 Chevrolet.
I bet you I'm going to have to think about it when we come down pit road for the first time, At least there's not going to be an 18 signboard out there for me to pull into, but to see the 8, just don't forget, find the 8.
When the move was first announced last September, it came as a complete shock. The team's owner, Richard Childress, infamously punched Busch during an altercation in 2011. The two long ago made amends, but the move to that team was still something Busch never saw coming.
No, absolutely not. No, I thought I'd be the face of Toyota and retiring as a Toyota guy, but wasn't meant to be, wasn't in the cards. So just fortunate enough that I had a call from Austin, and Richard was willing to meet with me, and we all made a deal.
Busch's new teammate, Austin Dillon, is credited with bringing the two-time champion to RCR. Dillon wanted to continue to build off the team's momentum and believed Busch was the right guy.
I thought our company was heading in the right direction, and I knew the best free agent on the market was Kyle, and being around him and that fire that he carries, everybody, has to really elevate their game.
Busch admits the transition will take some time, but he's looking forward to a fresh start.
Getting used to everybody there and learning all the people and the faces and everything has been a bit of a challenge for me. I'm not great with that. I've been in the same place for 15 years, so I just know everybody. But now being in a new place, it kind of lends a fresh side and kind of having a fresh start.
You can watch the 65th Daytona 500 this Sunday on FOX45. Our coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. with the green flag going up shortly thereafter. A key part of this team's run to Baltimore City's title game, a big look for some big performances that earned our Player of the Week honors. See how this team is reacting when we showed up with that award.
There hasn't been a team this season that's been able to stop City basketball. Behind a game high from Danny Parsons Jr., the Knights beat Lake Clifton to punch their ticket to the Baltimore City title game. For that, Parsons Jr. is our Prep Player of the Week.
When he made about his second or third one, I kind of figured he was in a flow, so we wanted to keep going to him. Just feed the high hand, and it worked out for us.
That it did. Danny Parsons Jr. was cooking for City in the team's Tuesday night win over Lake Clifton, and it didn't take him long to know that he was in for a big game.
Second quarter, because I had 11 in the first half, so I just felt, and then coming into the third.
Parsons finished with a game-high 24 points as the Knights clinched a berth in the city championship game.
This is the best we've been, and that's the biggest game we got so far, the city championship and then states.
And that's part of the reason why we wanted to talk to him. We were really there to name Danny our Prep Player of the Week.
Very deserving. It's glad to see him hit his stride in his last 3 or 4 games, this late in the season going into the playoffs, so definitely ecstatic for him. I'm sure the guys will be excited for him also.
24 points, that's a game high for you. Big win for Coach Omar, and you guys clinched a berth in the city championship game. Those are 3 things. So I got something for you. So for that, you are our Prep Player of the Week. Congratulations, my man. The reaction from his teammates just says it all, putting the cherry on top of a memorable moment for Danny Parsons Jr.
Probably the best, most special basketball moment ever.
You serious?
So far.
The Prep Player of the Week award is provided by Allegram, your trusted source for awards. That's awesome stuff. Big congrats to Danny again. To nominate a Prep Player of the Week, send me an email, sdesangro@sbgtv.com, or hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. We need your help to keep this thing going. That's it for this edition of Sports Unlimited. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Thanks for watching.
Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott firing back at FOX45 News as we push for answers on topics important to voters, how his reactions could impact city voters. BGE requesting a rate hike just days after the mayor's controversial conduit deal was announced. How much more every BGE customer could pay, not just city residents.
And we are off to a much colder start this morning. I'll let you know exactly how long these wintry temperatures stick around this time in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, This is Fox 45 Morning News.
And bright and sunny morning to you. Looking over Towson right now. Thanks for being with us this February 18th. I'm Taylor Stewart. You are in the right spot because we're going to get right to your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with what we can expect this morning.
Yeah, much colder than it was yesterday. Yesterday morning was really mild, right, as the rain was moving through. This morning we're down a solid 30 degrees in most spots. That puts us below freezing this morning, upper 20s to get your Saturday started. But this is the lowest temperatures are going to get. It's only up from here. Temperatures will start to improve again today. Definitely the colder of the 2 weekend days as you plan out your weekend activities. We have sunshine from start to finish with high temperatures ending up in the mid and upper 40s. And tomorrow is milder and actually the start of another warm-up. I'll let you know exactly when the 60s and the 70s are back and when we're tracking a couple of chances for rain in the week ahead in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
In a city in crisis, Fox 45 News continues to demand answers from your elected leaders on issues important to voters. Now, last week, Fox 45's Project Baltimore team revealed that 23 city schools had 0 students among those tested score proficient in math on state standardized tests. On Tuesday, after days of ignoring our questions about the issue, Mackenzie Frost was able to ask the mayor in person about Project Baltimore's recent findings and what needs to change.
How do you defend those results, and do you believe that there should be a change in leadership at city schools?
Well, I think a couple of things on that, Mackenzie. The reality is, despite you guys' inability to say it, that city schools, like school districts across these United States of America, have been experiencing decreases in math results between 2019 and 2022.
And because of that, Mayor Scott went on to say those test results were predictable, and city school leaders have already done a lot of work. Fox 45 News also asked if Mayor Brandon Scott thinks those schools should be shut down. We've not heard back. Then on Wednesday night, a 15-year-old girl, a Mervo High School student, was gunned down on the grounds of Walter P. Carter Elementary School. The victim went to the hospital. She underwent surgery. At least 19 young people this year have been shot in the city of Baltimore. 4 of them have already died. Mayor Brandon Scott was heated when we pressed him for answers about the shooting Wednesday night near cutting off one of our reporters during a press conference.
Hey, stop right there. I'm telling y'all tonight, I'm not up for it. I'm not up for the dumb questions. I'm up for real questions.
Joining us live this morning to discuss the mayor's recent responses to questions important to voters, Dr. Richard Batts, professor of rhetoric at Towson University. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Now, this week, the mayor did seem to be at odds with the media on some important topics. Why does he seem to pick a fight? Why do you think there's this contention that exists?
It's really bizarre. I mean, his go-to reaction to bad news is not to talk about policy development, but to get angry at those who report the bad news and question about leadership. This is not leadership. You can see 2 different models of leadership in our city. You can find it in Kurt Schmoke, you can find it in Ivan Bates, and on the other hand, you find it in Brandon Scott. You never find, whenever Kurt Schmoke used to be asked questions, or when Ivan Bates is asked questions now, and Ivan Bates spoke in my class, he answers them substantively, clearly. You know where he's headed, you know he understands the problem. Kurt Schmoke says, Brandon Scott says, "How dare you ask me those questions?" That is completely irresponsible. It doesn't deal substantively with the issues, and it leaves Baltimore in the same position it was before the questions were asked.
One particular question to that respect, when pressed on the conduit contract, whether he would personally gain from it by our Mackenzie Frost, he dismissed it and said it was disrespectful. What are your thoughts on that response?
Do you have anything to gain personally from this contract?
Mackenzie, that's the most disrespectful questions you've ever asked me. No, I don't have anything personal to gain. I do what's right for Baltimore, not what's right for me.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, you don't answer a question by telling the person it's disrespectful. You answer the question. If you think it's irrelevant, you say it's irrelevant. If you say it has no basis, you say it has no basis. Again, to consistently attack the reporter indicates that he's not dealing with the substance of the question. And this is a problem throughout Baltimore. You have two kinds of principles. Those who want to deal with the problems and those who want to get angry at being asked the questions about the problems. I mean, when you have Jill Carter saying that she doesn't want to see juveniles tried as adults. And by the way, with Jill Carter, you've got a Louis Farrakhan supporter who's never asked about that. You've got people who really aren't interested in aggressively approaching these problems. If you listen clearly to Ivan Bates, every time he talks, every time he goes after policy, talks about doorbell cameras. He talks about the relocation plans, for people who have been victims of crimes. He has substantive answers. These are the kinds of answers you need when you're talking about serious questions in the city. You don't simply attack those who ask you the questions. So I said once before that I hope Mayor Scott tends to follow Ivan Bates, does not tend to follow the Mosbys, and he appears to be waffling. And I hope he finally makes a decision to be a leader who deals with substantive problems.
Now, how should he reshape his rhetoric if he's going to try to connect with voters? Because, I mean, I'm sure these comments are something voters are going to remember.
Well, he never deals with a major problem in Baltimore City. The major problem is family. I mean, the major problem is you've got 70 to 80% of families that are fatherless. He never addresses that. Why would he never address that? Why would he never address the possibility of stigmatizing those who have child after child out of wedlock? These are questions that deal with the very issues of crime and economic problems that face the city. And until he wants to face these questions, they're never going to be solved.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Richard Vatz. We appreciate your
Thank you.
insight. All right. Elsewhere in the city in crisis, clarity this morning on fallout from Baltimore. This conduit deal now with BGE, it has been approved. The utility company is now proposing some rate hikes for all customers, not just city residents. It's in its multi-year plan that was just filed with state regulators. Taking a closer look now at how much you could pay if those hikes are approved. Your monthly bill could go up by average of $10.36. Doesn't sound like much, but think about this. That means you would pay $124 more annually for utilities. You can see the full breakdown of the cost on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Now, BGE filed the request with the Maryland Public Service Commission yesterday afternoon, just 2 days after the conduit deal was approved by Mayor Brendan Scott and his appointees on the Board of Estimates. Some city officials say the city's conduit deal just felt rushed.
There's 9% inflation right now. I don't think anybody disputes whether or not the rates are going to go up, but this would allow them to not go up as much.
So this administration has decided to unilaterally support this private institution that has a statewide operation on the backs of Baltimore City residents.
Again,
in a rushed fashion.
Now, Baltimore City Comptroller Bill Henry and Council President Nick Mosby spoke to members of the city's Senate delegation just yesterday, outlining their frustration with this deal. Those two skipped the Board of Estimates meeting in protest after calling out the conduit deal and asking for it to be taken off the agenda. It follows your vote in November to approve a charter amendment blocking the sale of the conduit system, a 700-mile network of pipes that carry utility wires. Now, critics claim the mayor's deal goes against the spirit of the vote and gives too much power and authority to the underground utilities to BGE. We're going to continue to follow your push for answers from elected leaders, and we've got more stories on that conduit deal on our website right now. You can go there. It's foxbaltimore.com. A new law signed in Baltimore County. It's a plastic bag ban that you may have to get some reusable ones before you can face a fine every time you shop.
And the weekend is off to a chilly start, but this chill not going to last. Actually, as early as tomorrow, we're out of the 40s and back into the 50s. I'll let you know exactly when the 60s and 70s are also back and when I'm tracking a couple of chances for rain in the week ahead in a few minutes. It's 8:09. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Happening now, Bring Your Own Bag is officially coming to Baltimore County. It bans single-use plastic bags, and County Executive Johnny Olszewski signed that measure, and it's going to be enforced starting next year.
Well, I was proud to support the legislation when the council put it in. Thrilled to see it passed. Grateful again to our partners. Let's sign this thing into law.
In addition to banning single-use plastic, the bill also imposes a 5-cent fee for paper bags. This is pretty similar to policies already in effect in Baltimore City. Baltimore's Squeegee Collaborative is striking out on donations. Why one expert feels people are not willing to empty their pockets. Growing concerns over student performance in Baltimore County schools, what FOX45's Project Baltimore team is uncovering, and what needs to happen to improve standardized test scores. You're watching FOX45 Morning News, all local, all morning. Now, parents have reasonably been upset about the Project Baltimore report that exposed 23 Baltimore City schools where 0 students among those tested were proficient in math. But as Project Baltimore's Chris Pass explains, every school system in Maryland takes state tests, and Baltimore City was not the only district with concerning scores.
Baltimore County State Delegate Nino Mangione is taking a stand.
And what we've seen is a continued failure.
Hours after FOX45 broke the story that 23 Baltimore City schools have 0 students proficient in state math tests, Mangione, a Republican, posted this on social media. The Baltimore City school system needs a new leader and a complete overhaul.
In Baltimore City, the school superintendent has to go. I believe that she has failed in her duty.
Mangione was not alone. Our reporting caused an outcry on the radio.
When you see stories coming out like this from Project Baltimore, it should make you scream.
Astonishing and so sad.
From parents.
It needs to be something done today. Today.
And community leaders.
I represent the Black Church of Baltimore. We're acting right now.
But poor student outcomes are not just a Baltimore City issue. We found a similar problem in Baltimore County. In late January, the 2022 MCAP state test results were released. Based on their scores, students are placed in one of 4 levels. Levels 1 and 2 are considered not proficient. Levels 3 and 4 are considered proficient. In Baltimore County, we found 7 schools with 0 students who tested proficient in math. That includes Chesapeake, Pikesville, and Randallstown High Schools, and Crossroads Center for middle school students. The other 3 are alternative schools, which Baltimore County says take the same MCAP test, but are not considered accountability schools, as outlined by the Maryland State Department of Education. And the data from those centers and/or programs is evaluated differently. There's another 10 schools with just 1 or 2 students proficient in math. 9 of them are high schools, including Dundalk, Franklin, and Parkville.
That is a total failure of a totally failed education system where, as I said before, finally something needs to be done, and collectively with the politicians to get together to say we need a new direction.
Of the 17 Baltimore County schools with 2 or fewer students proficient in math, 12 are high schools. And that could get worse. We dug into the MCAP results for 8th graders in all of BCPS. 8,505 8th graders took the math test. 684 of them tested proficient. That's 8%. This means 92% of all 8th graders tested in Baltimore County schools are not doing math at grade level.
I think that's not good. We certainly got to do a better job at that.
This is very concerning. I'm very serious about it.
Delegates Carl Jackson and Harry Bendari, both Democrats, represent Baltimore County. They point to the pandemic learning loss as one reason for the MCAP results. In a statement, Baltimore County Schools said it's working urgently to improve and accelerate student learning. Their plan includes targeted tutoring supports, reviewing when and how teachers deliver material, and examining math curriculum for gaps. And unlike Baltimore City, Baltimore County will soon have new leadership. Last month, Superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams announced he will not seek another contract.
I'm definitely looking forward to a new superintendent coming in and helping us kind of change those numbers around.
To address the low scores, Jackson and Bendari point to the Kerwin Plan, which pumps $30 billion additional dollars into public education over 10 years. Kerwin, in part, provides more mental health and tutoring services for students.
So we need to make sure that we look the result and we fix the problem. Be honest about it and be accountable and do better because that is our future.
But Mangione doesn't believe adding more money into the same system is the answer.
This is an absolute tragedy, and the entire system needs to be revamped. School choice, competition, I think it's too big a bureaucracy in education. I think, again, the teachers union has far too much power, and I think this idea that money solves the problem is absolutely incorrect.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Alrighty, let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson with a look at the forecast today. Amy, so if we wanted to walk the dog, would it be a good time now? We got to get the big coat out. What's up?
Yeah, if you're heading out now, big coat's definitely a must. Hold off till a little later. It'll feel better then. Tomorrow's going to be even better. The good news is the sun's already up. Came up at 6:54 this morning. Won't set until 5:46. You're probably noticing the sun staying up later and later each evening, and that's going to continue over the next couple of weeks. So, for example, within just 2 weeks, our sun sets already at 6:01 p.m. And then leading up to that spring forward time change on March 12th, we've got sunrise at 6:24 in the morning, and then we've got sunset at 6:10 p.m. And then even later after that time change on March 12th. The sun is up this morning, high in the sky, already shining down on the inner harbor. Not providing us a ton of warmth, though. We're still in the upper 20s, upper 40s where we're headed today. A cool start to the weekend, but it's going to be dry both days. Actually, not quite as cold tomorrow. Tomorrow's the start of a warming trend already. Not much happening on the weather map, luckily. Some clouds passing by, but otherwise it looks like skies are trying hard to clear here, saying goodbye to the clouds in the final frame on that weather map. So instead of tracking rain, let's track temperatures today. Although we're starting off below freezing, we do end up back above freezing in the mid and upper 40s this afternoon. Tonight's another chilly one. Not quite as cold. We'll stop in the low to mid 30s tonight. But then tomorrow afternoon, here comes some milder stuff. Temperatures are back in the mid to upper 50s to close out the weekend. So that should feel a little better. And that trend will continue through the holiday on Monday. So leading up to that, we are dry, increasing clouds tomorrow and Monday ahead of a new weather maker. But I think for President's Day, you're in good shape for outdoor plans. If you want to do anything outside for the holiday, we've got mid and actually upper 50s to near 60 degrees at that point. So warming temperatures again this week, not exactly feeling like February. 60s again Tuesday and Wednesday. Low 70s make a brief appearance on Thursday. We do have some showers to go along with the warmer temperatures. A few spotty showers on Tuesday. They become most likely Wednesday into early Thursday. After that, we'll dry things out for the very end of the week. By Friday, we're cooler again with highs returning to the mid-50s. Taylor?
In our next half hour, Tiger Woods is back in a competitive tournament for the first time in nearly a year. Why some on-course hijinks are prompting an apology, though.
Targeting cybercrime after the latest attack on the FBI, the concerns some experts have with rapidly evolving technology and the ability to keep up.
Making headlines this morning, it's not clear where it came from, but the FBI says these kind of acts are a threat to national and economic security and public safety as well. Didi Gatton with the National Desk explains.
The FBI is a big federal organization, and with that, of course, there is an expectation of having to deal with online threats. The worry, according to some experts, is how quickly technology is advancing and whether humans have the ability to keep up.
They have a very sophisticated cyber capability.
On the global and domestic platforms, the growing threat of cyber attacks is undeniable.
The FBI is targeted daily by criminal elements and our national security adversaries and competitors. They would like nothing more than to compromise our systems.
The FBI says it contained a malicious cyber attack on part of its computer network. Authorities believe it involved a system used by the FBI to investigate images of child exploitation, according to CNN, who also cites people briefed on the matter who say the activity involved the New York field office, one of the largest FBI offices in the country. Chris Pihota is a former FBI executive assistant director. while he says the agency's systems are secure and have to meet high standards for protection.
If there's any area of critique, it would be that we have to work more on human training, human behavioral challenges. At least 80% of all system compromises or breaches are the result of some sort of human behavioral element.
It's not yet clear where this latest attack originated, but 2 years ago, the FBI said its email system was hacked. Spam emails were sent to the public.
The technology is outrunning our capability to keep up with the adversaries. They're very good. They don't have limitations like law enforcement and governmental entities have.
Pyhota adds the attacks themselves are becoming automated and are adding another challenge with a high cost to fight. The White House says people who use the internet worldwide are targets of cybercrime and other cyber threats and can cost trillions of dollars each year. Reporting for the National Desk, I'm Dee Dee Gatton.
A Baltimore City mother pulling her child out of school after 2 students were shot. Why she says alternative options are not present and are not good enough. The sun looks like it's out there, but the temperature is still very cold. Meteorologist Amy Aronson letting us know when we could start to see a bit of a warm up. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
And you are starting off your Saturday on the right note and the right foot with us here on Fox 45 News. I'm Taylor Stewart. It is Saturday, February 18th. Let's get right over to your forecast because those gorgeous skies don't tell the full story, do they?
Yeah, a little chilly out there, especially compared to yesterday. We've been spoiled again this past week with temperatures well into the 60s. But this morning we're waking up to wintry wind chills in the teens and low 20s. That's what you need to dress for as you're heading out maybe to run some errands on this Saturday. Get the dog out for the first time. Bundle up. Temperatures will stay down today, mid and upper 40s this afternoon with all that sunshine. The good news is tomorrow's a little milder. We will make our way back into the mid 50s with some increasing clouds. And that's going to lead us into a warming trend again this week. So coming up in just over 10 minutes, I'll explain where these temperatures are trending and when we are tracking a couple of chances for rain too. Taylor?
In a city in crisis, we are following 2 big stories this morning. The Squeegee Collaborative's push for donations has not raised very much money. Why one tax expert thinks people are not donating, plus A 15-year-old girl is fighting for her life this morning after a shooting in Baltimore. It is the latest in a string of violence against young people. Mayor Brandon Scott is now voicing his frustration. A former Baltimore officer, though, is offering some insight into the youth crime crisis. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has the concerning data and the perspective on juvenile violence.
When looking at homicides and non-fatal shootings, statistics show more than 300 juveniles have fallen victim to either of those two crimes here in Baltimore over the past 4 years, and many worry that trend will continue throughout 2023.
There's a shooting. There's a female was shot in the head.
The 15-year-old Merville High School freshman shot outside of an elementary middle school is one of the latest crimes committed against juveniles here in Baltimore.
Another incident where we have a young male or female who's a victim of gun violence in our city, and we just got to stop it.
She is a freshman at Merville. This is the third time that we have seen trauma impact this school this academic year.
Statistics from the Baltimore Police Department troubling. Since 2019, at least 229 juveniles have been shot in Baltimore. In addition, at least 82 juveniles have been murdered.
The numbers are staggering.
Former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson weighing in on the data. Here, a year-to-year breakdown of the non-fatal shootings and homicides. The statistics showing 2022 had the highest number of juveniles injured in non-fatal shootings and the second highest number of homicides. Johnson pointing out the number of juveniles shot so far this year is already nearly double the number shot during this same time frame in 2022, which, according to the data, was one of the more violent years for young people.
There are probably several reasons, but I think the number one reason is lack of consequences.
As for this most recent case involving the Merville High School teen, no arrests have been made, the department not yet providing any suspect description. In Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Now, the violence is driving one Baltimore mother to pull her child out of city schools. Kawana Perry's son is a student at Merville High School, but she says she's worried after 2 students have been shot there this year. Perry says the school isn't taking proper precautions to keep children safe.
It is horrible to think that your children cannot attend school and feel safe. Now, these recent situations are starting to occur. I just need peace in knowing that my child is safe going to school, but they don't have a safety plan. So what is a parent to do?
Now, the mother says the other school options that were given are not safe in her opinion. Her hope is to move her son to virtual learning or possibly even homeschooling. Now, Darren Gamble is in police custody this morning after he was charged in a double shooting in Northeast Baltimore on February 4th. Police say Gamble shot a 60-year-old woman and a 17-year-old man along Medford Road. He's charged with attempted first-degree murder and remains in central booking. Elsewhere in a city in crisis, Baltimore's Squeegee collaborative plan has been in place for a month now, and the mayor's office is asking for donations to pay Squeegee kids as part of that plan. Fox 45's Lady of Dance is looking into that campaign and if residents are actually buying in.
Throughout downtown Baltimore, the fundraising campaign for Squeegee Kids can be seen rotating through on these electric signs. It's not up right now, but I have seen it since standing here. But this specific sign off of Fleet Street is just blocks away from where Squeegee Kids are now banned. Driving through Baltimore, chances are you will likely come across Squeegee Kids.
I don't feel like you can come into Baltimore and not experience the Squeegee Kids.
For months, Squeegee Kids have been harassing drivers.
I feel like the idea of the Squeegee kids or boys or whatever is out there is like more of a negative image.
I know it's off-putting to a lot of people, especially if you're visiting and you're not from here.
But under Mayor Brandon Scott's new Squeegee collaborative plan, Squeegee Kids are banned from 6 intersections across the city. On January 10th, that enforcement began, and Baltimore police confirmed that since then, 19 warnings have been given for pedestrians walking and standing in roadways.
I don't see any problem with giving warnings. The issue is with so few warnings given, it really makes you wonder if there's any enforcement going on at all.
Former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson worries that enforcement isn't really happening. And our cameras catching some Squeegee kids still coming back night after night. And now, as part of the mayor's plan, a city-backed campaign is asking residents to donate money to help fund Squeegee kids' goals.
These are really difficult economic times. Inflation is still high. You know, people are really pinched financially, and it's highly doubtful that any extra money they do have, they're going to send to Squeegee kids, which traditionally have been a problem in the city of Baltimore.
The campaign launched last month, advertised on electric signs downtown, is pushing donors to a website. But as of Friday, only $40 has been donated, nowhere near the campaign's goal. Taxpayer watchdog David Williams thinks the lack of donations speaks volumes.
Baltimore City folks seem to be voicing their opinion through this campaign is that they're not willing to pay to solve this, that this is the city's responsibility and the city needs to figure this out.
Some city residents we spoke to agree.
I feel like that's the part of it why some people don't want to help. They feel as though the misconduct is going to do nothing but support the bad habits.
Some people in Baltimore probably had like negative experiences with the Squeegee kids, so sometimes people have one bad experience and that kind of taints whether or not they want to give to something like that.
Some residents we spoke to also think people are unaware of the campaign and just haven't seen these signs, which could be another reason there's so few donations. But David Williams thinks that even if people are aware, they would be unlikely to donate because this really should be the city's responsibility. For now, reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
The second phase of the Squeegee Collaborative Plan is also in effect. Now, a police memo stated they would begin giving out citations on February 10th to anyone who received 2 previous verbal warnings about squeegeeing. The police department confirms that since January 10th, at least 19 warnings have been given out for pedestrians walking and standing in roadways. Yet another mass shooting here in America still ahead. Mississippi police identified the suspect they say killed people in a small rural community.
And the weekend starts off a little chilly with highs in the 40s today, but the 50s are back tomorrow, and then the 60s Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll let you know exactly how long this warmer stretch is going to last in just a couple of minutes. It's 8:38. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Making headlines this morning, police in Mississippi have identified the suspects they say killed 6 people in a small rural community on Friday. 52-year-old Richard Dale Crum now faces 1 count of first-degree murder. Additional charges are expected to be filed here. The Tate County Sheriff's Office believes Crum shot and killed 6 people near the Arbacatola community. It's near the Tennessee state line, and among those victims is Crum's ex-wife, his stepfather, and his stepfather's sister. They also believe Crum is responsible for killing 2 handymen and a man parked outside of a convenience store. A sheriff in West Virginia is now calling for prayers after the body of an 11-week-old baby boy was found. Emergency crews in Fayette County discovered the infant in a car submerged in water on Friday afternoon. He was trapped inside when the floodwaters crept and swept that vehicle away. Investigators say the boy's mother misjudged the water's depth, and when she attempted to rescue her son, it was just too late.
The car started to float at that time. She retreated to get help. And when she returned, the car had disappeared into the water. The problem is it's murky water, very muddy, and it's hard to see.
According to the Fayette County Sheriff's Office, the area where the car was discovered had water up to 18 feet deep. The flooding came amid a string of thunderstorms that dumped nearly 3 inches of rain on parts of western Virginia. All right, BGE is requesting some rate hikes just days after that controversial conduit deal was announced. In our next half hour, how much more every BGE customer could pay, and we're not just talking about city residents. The importance of CPR and AED after the break. A cardiologist from the University of Maryland's medical system is joining us live right here in studio for a demo. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. In your health headlines, we are talking about the importance of CPR and AED. Heart attack is the leading cause of death for men and women. Most people, it doesn't matter what racial or ethnic group you're part of, and heart disease is responsible for 211 deaths each year per 100,000. That's according to a CDC report. But let's break it down here. We've got Jeremy Pollack in studio with us with the University of Maryland. He is a cardiologist, and he's going to tell us more about why we're looking at this here this morning. So let's talk about cardiac arrest. You and I were talking over the break. What is it, and how can people identify it?
Perfect. Taylor, thank you for having me on. So #1 killer in the country is heart disease, right? So cardiac arrest, the heart has an electrical system, wiring that connects the top to the bottom. When you have cardiac arrest, that wiring goes haywire, and the heart no longer effectively pumps blood to all the organs that need it. Common misconception that cardiac arrest is a heart attack. Not all cardiac arrests are caused by heart attacks. Heart attack is a blockage in one of the arteries. Now, that can cause cardiac arrest where the electrical system doesn't work, but sometimes it can be caused by many other things in an electrical system. Regardless, let's say you're in this studio, right? And you come in and somebody loses consciousness. You need to act fast. Because in cardiac arrest, we say time is brain and muscle. You have 6 minutes to increase the chance that this patient gets to the hospital alive. So what can you do in these situations?
That's what I want to know.
Right, so you're in the studio, you come in, you're having your morning coffee, and you notice that one of your coworkers suddenly loses consciousness. What are we going to do? Right, so that's the face
was what a worry. I was going to say, bleed the blood of Jesus. I don't know. Let's get into it.
Very, very scared, right? But it's the chain link of survival, right? So the first thing we're going to do is call 911. All right. So hopefully there's someone else in the room. You're going to call Brooke, the comptroller, who's coming on. Please call 911, right? Number 2, there's an AED, right? So I actually think Brooke was part of a law last year that increased AEDs in the public. So if we're in a public space, there's going to be an AED. So
and that's what this is.
This is going to be somewhere in the public space, right?
I'm sure we've got those all over this building.
It's going to be somewhere here. Now, what's the first thing to do? You have to have the courage to take this off the wall, right?
Okay.
So anybody can use it. You just told me you're CPR or ACLS trained. You do not need to be CPR or ACLS trained. You just have the courage to take this down. So let's take it down.
All right.
So you're going to bring it over here. Before that, you know that he's lost consciousness, right?
Right.
It's say, hey, can you wake him up? He's not waking up. He's not moving. We're not going to fiddle around trying to feel pulse, right?
We don't know
he's not up, right? So we're calling 911. We're going to open this up, right? This can be used by a 5th grade level of education, right? So you don't need any training in it. It's simple, 1, 2, 3. It's going to talk you through it. All you have to do is have the courage to turn it on, right? And it's going to tell you what to do, right? So we've called 911. We're going to hook this in here.
The patient's bare chest.
This would be that.
Yep, let's hook this in here.
Connector next
There's 2 pads, right? So we're going to take pad number 1. You can take that off.
Heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient.
Okay.
And then it's going to have a picture where to put it here.
Perfect.
You're going to take pad number 2.
Very simple. The pictures are
very, very simple, right? So pad here, pad here. It's a little ahead of us, but right. So we're going to put the pad right where it tells us to go.
Press the orange button now.
So it has analyzed the rhythm when it's here. You cannot shock someone. You cannot cause harm in these situations, right? It's going to tell you to shock, and now you can actually push the orange button.
Shock delivered.
It's going to deliver a shock to the patient. So you've just saved this patient's life, right? And it's going to tell you to begin CPR. Now, hey, I don't have training in CPR. I don't know what to do in these situations. A, you're going to have 911 on the phone.
For sure.
Someone's going to talk you through how to do CPR. I'm not going to make you and your do CPR in front of all the listeners. But again, it's just getting this device on the patient really quickly. The courage to put it on and push the button to turn it on makes all the difference in the world.
And having those tips is just so useful because the instant reaction is to panic. What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah.
But I mean, just opening this up, we can see the pads have
picture right there.
Clear pictures and instructions.
And it's 1, 2, 3 right there on there. It tells you exactly what to do. Just open the box and you'll save a life.
Wow. I'm really happy we had this segment today. I hope you guys are taking away from this as well. Thank you so much to Dr. Jeremy Pollack, cardiologist, University of Maryland. We appreciate this insight. Really, I mean, this is
Thanks for having me on.
Save everybody in the studio.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
All right. All right, meteorologist Amy Aronson, if you go down, girl, I got your back.
Good to hear. You're ready. I know. We're all watching out for each other in here. Looking back at the month so far, we've had mostly warm days. Maybe you've been able to enjoy it, taking some exercise outside, upper 60s, low 70s even a couple of days this week. So some incredible warmth for February standards. If I step out of the way here, you can see our normal average high for the month of February, 45 degrees. We've been well above that average high so far, 17 days in, 54 degrees. We've actually had 7 days with temperatures in the 60s to near 70 degrees. Today, we're not going to get that warm. Today's going to be a below average temperature day. We have blue skies over Towson right now and some chilly temperatures too. Upper 20s, low 30s to start. So we're all hanging out awfully close to freezing to begin, but we are dry and we're actually going to stay dry and quiet all weekend long. So not much happening here on the weather map. So we're not really tracking any rain, at least today or tomorrow. High pressure blows by briefly. I am tracking increasing clouds, though, later Sunday into Monday as a new weather maker moves in. A couple of showers will try to trickle through Monday, but I think most hold off until Tuesday with this next little disturbance that pushes in from the west. So today, you don't have to worry about the rain. We are dealing with some chilly temperatures, though, with highs in the mid to upper 40s today. Tonight's not quite as cold. Temperatures will be in the upper 30s with increasing clouds. We should stay just above freezing overnight. Now, by President's Day, it's even milder. Temperatures will be in the mid and actually upper 50s during the afternoon. Yes, I'm looking at more clouds than sun, but we should actually remain dry through Monday. It's Tuesday that I increase that chance for a couple of showers. A few showers Tuesday. They become more scattered midweek, and then they will actually linger through Thursday, too. You can see that in our full 7-day forecast. We're dry this weekend. We climb from the 40s to the 50s tomorrow, so feeling much milder by Sunday already. Near 60 for President's Day on Monday. Some spotty showers show up on Tuesday with temperatures back in the low 60s. We'll stay in the low 60s through Wednesday. Low 70s briefly on Thursday. Another very, very warm February day. And then it's back to reality by Friday. We dry things out, but we are back in the cooler mid-50s. Taylor?
All right, it is Shop Maryland Energy Weekend at 9 o'clock. We've got Comptroller Brooke Learman. She's going to join us live here in studio and explain the push behind this tax-free holiday weekend. And now we're learning that Spain has provided temporary leave for patients with period pain. That's a story we'll have an update on for you in our next half hour as well. Trending now, the government in Spain is giving women some relief. Lawmakers approved a new measure allowing women to take medical leave for period pain. Women who've been diagnosed with a medical condition like endometriosis or polycystic ovaries will be able to take advantage of the temporary leave paid for by the state. Data shows there are around 6,000 claims for temporary disability a year due to menstrual and medication conditions. The Minister of Equality says the measure will help remove unwanted stigma around the topic. Tiger Woods is apologizing for a prank he pulled on Justin Thomas at the Genesis Invitational. Now, photos and videos show Woods subtly handing Thomas a tampon after outdriving him on the 9th hole. Critics say the joke was sexist. Woods emphasized he meant no harm and it was just friends having fun.
As I said, if I offended anybody in any way, shape, or form, I'm sorry. It was not intended to be that way. It's just, you know, we play pranks on one another all the time, and virally, I think this did not come across that way.
Thomas seemed to take the joke in stride, appearing to toss the tampon to the ground. The two men could be seen laughing as they walked down the fairway together. All right, let's check in with Genevieve Gorder for a look at today's steals and deals.
The following segment is sponsored by Knocking.
You guys, what are two things you lose the most? It's your keys and it's your phone. And it's so frustrating. I know this because I spend hours every day looking for these items. So listen up. You don't want to miss this buy one, get one exclusive deal on the Key Smart Pro. Now, the KeySmart Pro organizes up to 14 keys in one little device. Literally every guy on the set has one in his pocket right now. And as we were setting up this display, people were actually trying to take them. So my advice is buy this now for everyone you love because they're not going to last. It takes all those keys in the drawer, the bottom of your purse, and puts them right into one little thing, and it connects to a free app. So if you lose your keys, you press the button on the app. You lose your phone, you press the button on the keychain. Even if your phone is on silent, you can find it. It's a win-win. They find each other, guys. You know how many hours this saves us? For me, like probably 6 hours a day. I bet you have someone in your life that needs one of these. My family literally impersonates me by putting on a pair of sunglasses and saying, "Where's my phone? Where's my keys?" And now with this buy one, get one free deal, it's the perfect time to get one for you, someone you love, in all of these great colors. Remember, this is a buy one, get one free. Do not wait. Go to asadeals.com.
It is Shop Maryland Energy Weekend. Maryland Comptroller Brooke Learman joins us live in studio with more on the push behind this tax-free holiday weekend. And BGE submitting a request for rate hikes in the wake of Mayor Scott's controversial conduit deal. How much more the utility wants you to pay.
And we are off to a colder start this morning. The chill's not going to last long, though. I'll explain what we're going to warm back up in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Good morning to you on this February 18th, this Saturday. I'm Taylor Stewart. Let's get over to your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson. So the rain is gone, but in its place, something else.
Yeah, back to reality here, Taylor. Temperatures are down significantly from this time yesterday. Yesterday morning, remember, we were off to a mild start in the 60s. Now we're a far cry from that. Our numbers are actually down 25 to even 30 degrees in most spots. So that's significantly colder than the mild 60s. Instead, we're actually starting off near freezing. We've got upper 20s and low 30s to get your morning started. So there is a chill to begin. Bundle up, layer up if you're heading out, maybe to get the dog out for a walk this morning. If you're enjoying some coffee and planning out your errands for today, we are planning on sunshine as we head through midday in the afternoon, and temperatures will be improving as a result. So we'll see our numbers climb from the 30s to the 40s, eventually into the upper 40s by the end of the day. And these numbers are going to continue to warm as we head through the rest of the weekend. I'll explain when the 50s and 60s and even 70s are back in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
Alrighty, well, it is Shop Maryland Energy Weekend. That means there's no 6% sales tax on some really big household items. We're talking dryers, dishwashers, refrigerators. They all qualify if they're Energy Star eligible for savings. So joining us here in studio this morning to explain the reasoning behind this weekend, Maryland Comptroller Brooke Learman. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's great to be here, Taylor. Thank you so much. And as you said, it's Maryland Shop Energy Weekend, and this is an annual event here in Maryland where we make sure that consumers know that how important it is to buy Energy Star products, right? This indicates that the product is more energy efficient. And this weekend, President's Day weekend, every year, all these products are exempt from our state sales tax.
Well, isn't that awesome?
It is great because consumers, all Marylanders, and anybody who's shopping in our Maryland businesses can buy new or used Energy Star appliances and save that 6% sales tax this weekend. But also, we know that these products, because they're more energy efficient, you're saving money on your monthly bill over the long term. So it's a great deal, and I'm excited to be here to promote it today. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't really talked since you've been in office. I want to know, how have your first few months been as comptroller?
1 month in.
1 month, right? Oh my gosh, this year is just going by.
It is. It's been amazing. We have a great team at the comptroller's office. I was excited to hit the ground running, working with them. Really excited to be working with our new governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general, our speaker, our great General Assembly leaders. There's so much to do. And of course, we're in the middle of tax season right now as well. Our returns due April 18th. And I remind people, the faster you get it in, the faster we send you your refund.
I think I heard you say something last time, and I did file my taxes because of that. But from now, in your seat in your office, what does the outlook look like for Maryland and particularly Baltimore?
There's so much going on, and one of the things that we're really focusing on is how we can build more communities all over the state and here in Baltimore that are more equitable, more resilient, and more prosperous, right? Whether that's through the tax code and working with our governor and General Assembly, whether it's just ensuring our administration of our tax system is more streamlined and modernizing our processes so it's easier to do business in the state. And that's what we're really focusing on.
And that's important, making things easier for folks to just get them and digest them. And so right now, Democrats have control of all three branches of government. How do you view your role in making sure the whole isn't blown through the state budget? I mean, we had a really big debt
surplus.
Thank you. I was going to say deficit. I'm like, that's not the word.
We have a big
great surplus.
Yep.
And so how are we going to make sure we maintain that going forward?
Absolutely. I have full confidence as a former member of the Appropriations Committee, working with Governor Moore, working with the General Assembly leaders, that we're going to pass a budget that's both fiscally prudent and socially responsible. That's what we do here in Maryland, and I know that we're going to continue doing it with the General Assembly and Governor Moore.
And we'll have our eyes on that, and we'll be looking out for that for sure. Thank you so much, Madam Comptroller, for joining us here on Saturday Fox 45 News. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And Energy Weekend. Shop.
Energy
Everyone
Weekend.
get out there and shop.
Support our small businesses.
Absolutely. All right. Well, untangling the controversy surrounding the mayor's conduit deal is now a little bit more difficult as the utility company wants you to pay a bit more. We'll tell you how much more after the break.
And the weekend is off to a chilly start, but temperatures will be improving. 40s today, 50s are back tomorrow. I'll let you know when the 60s and 70s return too in a couple of minutes. It's 9:04. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
This morning, we're getting more clarity about the fallout from Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott's conduit deal with BGE. Now that it has been approved, the utility is proposing rate hikes for all customers, not just city residents, in its multi-year plan just filed with the state regulators just yesterday. Here's a closer look at how much you could pay if those hikes are approved. Your monthly bill would go up by an average of $10.36 a year. That's an average. Now, that would mean you would pay around $124 more annually for utilities. You can see a full breakdown of that cost on our website, foxbaltimore.com. BGE filed the request with the Maryland Public Service Commission Friday afternoon, just 2 days after the conduit deal was approved by the mayor and his appointees on the Board of Estimates. Some city officials say the city's conduit deal felt rushed.
There's 9% inflation right now. I don't think anybody disputes whether or not the rates are going to go up, but this would allow them to not go up as much.
So this administration has decided to unilaterally support this private institution that has a statewide operation on the backs of Baltimore City residents.
Again,
in a rushed fashion.
Baltimore City Comptroller Bill Henry and Council President Nick Mosby spoke to members of the city's Senate delegation just yesterday morning, outlining their frustration with this deal. They skipped the Board of Ethics estimates meeting in protest after calling out for the conduit deal to be taken off of the agenda. It follows your vote in November to approve a charter amendment blocking the sale of a conduit system, a 700-mile network of pipes that carry utility wires. Now, critics claim the mayor's deal goes against the spirit of the vote and gives too much authority to the underground utilities to BGE. Mayor Scott still supports this deal despite questions about the timetable. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned him earlier this week about the criticism and why he's pushing so hard for this deal.
Do you have anything to gain personally from this contract?
Mackenzie, that's the most disrespectful questions you've ever asked me. No. I don't have anything personal to gain. I do what's right for Baltimore, not what's right for me.
Mayor Scott, if you lose re-election, would you work for BG&E?
Mackenzie, two things for sure. I'm not losing re-election, and I'm not working for BG&E. I'm never going to work for BG&E. That's not what I do. I'm a public servant, and that's how I live my life.
Does that mean you are running for re-election? Is that a commitment?
No, I am.
Now, Baltimore City Council member Zeke Cohen has been among the louder critics, saying the deal is a brutal indictment of the mayor and the system in Baltimore.
It looks terrible. The process has been rushed. People, communities feel shut out. Elected officials feel shut out. And it looks like this was a power play between the mayor and BGE.
Now, Cohen is proposing a complete overhaul of the Board of Estimates, replacing appointed and elected members with people from the community who he argues would be better reflection of what's best for Baltimore.
It's not a situation where I want it to become a political tussle between the mayor and the council president or anybody else. This is an opportunity for Baltimoreans, those of us that live here, that are sending our kids to school here, that deal with the day-to-day issues but that love our city, to have a voice in reshaping it.
Comptroller Bill Henry said he would have been open to the deal if the terms were, quote, good for Baltimore, end quote. But Henry says he doesn't believe that is the case here. Comptroller Henry will join us live on Fox 45 Morning News tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. to discuss. The toll of the border crisis impacting everyone from migrants to border town residents to those protecting the U.S. itself. How a border agent's death by suicide is spurring change in Congress. Life at the southern border is taking a toll on all involved. We're talking about migrant families, to communities, and Border Patrol agents themselves. A record number of agents died by suicide last year. And as Christine Frizzau explains, Congress is trying to step in to prevent further tragedy.
Along the southern border, a feeling of heartbreak now looms over the loss of those working to protect it. As 2022 came to a close, 3 border agents within 3 weeks died by suicide, bringing the total for 2022 to 14 suicides. That ties the record since the agency began tracking the numbers. Among them, Agent Robert Boatwright.
He was a veteran. His oldest son is a Marine. I mean, you're talking about people that love this country, and yet, he's no longer here.
Congressman Tony Gonzalez represents the region, which consistently has the highest number of illegal border crossings, and over the last 5 years has seen a nearly 3,000% increase, from 15,800 in 2018 to more than 480,000 in 2022.
We are seeing an increase in numbers of Border Patrol agents committing suicide. Any idea why that is?
I mean, the border crisis is the worst it's ever been. The worst it's ever been.
To get a sense of the new reality, Spotlight on America visited Del Rio, Texas, and found a community at times overwhelmed, including for those tasked with keeping it safe.
And why is that? Why Del Rio?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. We have a large number of migrants that are crossing for the purposes of turning themselves in. And so when that happens, we have to collapse our operations down, and we're not able to be out on patrol looking for the criminals and the smugglers that are actually trying to evade capture.
Instead, Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens says some agents are stuck processing paperwork in those cases, while others find themselves on tragic recovery missions, like one recent horrific day on boat patrol in Eagle Pass.
They recovered a 3-year-old body from the river. Mexican forces recovered the mom, and I think it was a 5-year-old that was also deceased. The mom was inconsolable, and they also found an infant that they recovered and did CPR for several minutes, and ultimately that baby passed away as well. Can you imagine seeing something like that, and then you have to go home like nothing happened?
3 of them, which are right here.
It's one reason why a bipartisan group of lawmakers recently introduced the Taking Action to Prevent Suicide, or TAPS Act, to try to take the fear out of coming forward to get the help they may need, creating a task force to examine suicide prevention by CBP personnel and updating suicide education and prevention programs.
The thing that we constantly hear is that I don't want to come to the agency and let them know because I'm, one, going to lose pay, I'm going to lose my law enforcement authority, and everybody is going to know what's going on.
In the meantime, border agents keep showing up at a job that has changed drastically, but still centers on keeping the country safe. And those close to them beg the government for new policies and more resources to help keep them safe. For Spotlight on America, I'm Christine Frizzau.
Meteorologist Amy Aronson in with a look of our forecast. And so explain, what are we seeing before spring forward?
Yeah, spring is on the way, right? Are you noticing more sunlight in the evenings? That's because sunset's getting pushed back later and later each night. So for example, tonight it's coming up at 5:46. In just 1 week, it's at 5:54. In 2 weeks, it's at 6:01, and then 6:09 right before that time change when we spring forward March 12th. After that, we push it back a whole hour, so sunset will be happening closer to 7. Signs of spring on the way. This morning still feels awfully like winter. We've got cold temperatures despite that sunshine. 32 to start, so we're right around freezing. Upper 40s, that's where we're headed today. That means a cool start to the weekend. We're going to be dry today and tomorrow, and actually tomorrow is not going to be quite as cold as the 40s that we have on our hands today. We are coming in behind a cold front. That front has moved well past us now, well out to sea. Coming in behind it, not much of anything happening here on the weather map. We look really quiet this morning. We'll stay really quiet actually all weekend long. So instead of tracking rain, let's talk temperatures. Today we only end up in the mid and upper 40s. This is actually around where we should be for this time of year. Tonight, not quite as cold. Temperatures will actually stay just above freezing in the low to mid 30s overnight through tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow afternoon, here comes some milder stuff. This is what we've been used to this month, right? Temperatures have been running above average, and that will be the case on Sunday, with highs headed back into the mid and actually upper 50s again. And that's just the start of a warming trend. We're dry both days. We are tracking some increasing clouds Sunday into Monday, mid-50s tomorrow, and then by Monday for President's Day, turning mostly cloudy, but turning even milder too, with highs getting awfully close to that 60-degree mark. So temperatures will be warming here with each passing day. The weekend is completely dry. We have all sunshine today, mostly sunny tomorrow too, with highs back in the mid-50s, and then near 60 for President's Day. So perfect day to squeeze in some fresh air and some time outside. Come Tuesday, I'm tracking our next weather maker, and that's going to send us a chance for some spotty showers at that point. I don't think any of these days are a complete washout, but our best chance for some scattered showers comes on Wednesday, and they will wrap up early Thursday. Temperature-wise, we're in great shape. It's going to be another very warm February week with highs back in the low 60s again Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, the warmest day of this stretch with highs briefly back in the low 70s. But behind that weather maker, we will dry out by week's end and cool things back down. We're back in the mid 50s by Friday. Remember, you can always use that QR code you see at the bottom of your 7-day forecast. If you want more weather information, all you have to do is scan it with your phone, and it's going to take you right to our WBFF weather app in the App Store. You can also get all this information there. Taylor?
Happening now, the FDA is a step closer to improving access to Narcan. The life-saving nasal spray, as opioid overdose increased, they went up 17% from 2021. And Narcan works by blocking the effects of opioids on the brain for 90 minutes. It helps restore breathing long enough to call an ambulance. Now, this last week, 2 FDA advisory committees voted unanimously in making the nasal spray version available over the counter. It's now up to the FDA's commissioner to make that final decision, and that decision we expect to hear at the end of March. A Baltimore mother pulling her child out of school after 2 students were shot. Why she says she needs another alternative, and what she's been presented with, just not good enough for her kids.
New hearings on COVID on the way to Capitol Hill. Will they change the way the government handles any future pandemic problems? I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look coming up.
Making headlines this morning, police in Mississippi have identified the suspect they say killed 6 people in a small rural community on Friday. 52-year-old Richard Dale Crum is now facing 1 count of first-degree murder with other charges pending. The Tate County Sheriff's Office believes Crum shot and killed 6 people in the Arbicaw community near the Tennessee state line. Among those victims, Crum's ex-wife, his stepfather's sister. Now, they believe Crum is responsible for killing 2 handymen and another man parked outside of a convenience store. Taking a closer look at COVID in Maryland, the good news here, numbers are trending down. Just over 600 new cases yesterday compared to more than 1,000 this time 3 weeks ago. 20 more Marylanders are out of the hospital, leaving 424 people in the hospital with the virus. Now, growing calls for Congress to re-examine how America handled the early days of the COVID crisis and if some viewpoints were intentionally silenced. Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman brings us the debate from Capitol Hill.
On Capitol Hill, that Republican takeover of the House resulting in a new direction and litany of investigations and hearings, including on the origins of COVID and possibly the spread or alleged censorship of information.
What big tech did essentially, I think, caused tremendous harm to the American people. Suppose that we had an open and honest debate in 2020 and 2021 about school openings. So many of our kids would not have had the lifelong harm done to them that we did with these lockdown policies.
Often cited by conservatives as a target of suppression, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya of Stanford University says his findings, which sometimes contradicted government messaging, were dismissed and called dangerous, something he originally voiced on Full Measure with Sharyl Attkisson. Now he and others calling for a truth commission, arguing many businesses and school closings and certain mask and vaccine requirements could have been avoided had their voices been heard.
We would have won that debate in 2020 and 2021 had we been allowed to present the science openly. And big tech played a malign role in suppressing that debate from happening.
The people of America entrust us to find the answers.
Big tech has increasingly been scrutinized by Congress for its process in deciding what's worthy of sharing versus blocking. But lawmakers also contend the crisis isn't over.
I remind my colleagues there are 500 people still dying every day from COVID. This is still with us.
They accuse some Republicans of putting politics ahead of science and say they're still fighting the spread of misinformation from the right.
I do want to highlight the real importance of mis and disinformation and how it has undermined our vaccine efforts.
And though coming from very different angles, both parties say they are open to improvement and being better prepared to avoid a repeat in the future. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think credible science voices were silenced during the COVID pandemic? So far, 74% of you say yes. Now, you can make your voice heard at foxbaltimore.com. Just click on that Pulse tab. A new study from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation claims natural immunity from COVID-19 can last up to 10 months. Protection against severe disease and death is still at almost 90% of the 10-month mark. Researchers say that it was about good as 2 vaccines. They also say it's just not enough to where most people probably only need 1 booster per year. Squeegee kid donations, they've been open for nearly a month now, but Fox 45 is looking at whether residents are actually giving and why financial experts say don't expect too much. A sunny start to your morning, but do not let it fool you. The cold is here. Meteorologist Amy Aronson will let us know when we can expect a warming trend. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Thanks for being with us here this Saturday, February 18th. You're looking at the Bromo Seltzer Tower, and it looks kind of bright out there. Don't let it fool you. It's chilly. Let's get right over to your forecast. Meteorologist Amy Aronson with some blue in her maps.
Yeah, wind chills are back this morning, at least briefly. Little bit of a wind right now, making it feel colder than it actually is. That means it feels like we're in the teens and low 20s this morning. Feels like winter again, at least briefly today. Today we'll spend in the mid and upper 40s despite all that sunshine. Tomorrow's a little better for outdoor plans. We will be tracking increasing clouds, but temperatures are also increasing from the 40s back into the mid and actually upper 50s during the afternoon. And that's just the start of another warming trend, another mild week coming up for us with a couple of rain chances. I'll explain exactly when that rain moves in and how long it sticks around this week in just over 10 minutes. Taylor?
In a city in crisis, we're following two big stories this morning. The Squeegee Collaborative's push for donations hasn't raised very much money. Why one tax expert thinks people are not donating. Plus, a 15-year-old girl is fighting for her life this morning after a Baltimore shooting. It's the latest in a string of violence against young people. Mayor Brendan Scott is now voicing his frustration, and a former Baltimore County officer is offering some insight into the youth crime crisis. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has the concerning data and the perspective on juvenile violence.
When looking at homicides and non-fatal shootings, statistics show more than 300 juveniles have fallen victim to either of those two crimes here in Baltimore over the past 4 years, and many worry that trend will continue throughout 2023.
There's a shooting. There's a female was shot in the head.
The 15-year-old Merville High School freshman shot outside of an elementary middle school is one of the latest crimes committed against juveniles here in Baltimore.
Another incident where we have a young male or female who's a victim of gun violence in our city, and we just got to stop it.
She is a freshman at Merville. This is the third time that we have seen trauma impact this school this academic year.
Statistics from the Baltimore Police Department troubling. Since 2019, at least 229 juveniles have been shot in Baltimore. In addition, at least 82 juveniles have been murdered.
The numbers are staggering.
Former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson weighing in on the data. Here, a year-to-year breakdown of the non-fatal shootings and homicides. The statistics showing 2022 had the highest number of juveniles injured in non-fatal shootings and the second highest number of homicides. Johnson pointing out the number of juveniles shot so far this year is already nearly double the number shot during this same time frame in 2022, which, according to the data, was one of the more violent years for young people.
There are probably several reasons, but I think the number one reason is lack of consequences.
As for this most recent case involving the Merville High School teen, no arrests have been made, the department not yet providing any suspect description. In Baltimore, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
The violence is driving one Baltimore mother to pull her child out of school. Now, Kawana Perry's son goes to Merville High School, but she's worried that after two students have been shot, can her son stay in the school and stay safe? She says the school is not taking proper precautions to keep kids safe.
It is horrible to think that your children cannot attend school and feel safe. Now, these recent situations are starting to occur. I just need peace in knowing that my child is safe going to school, but they don't have a safety plan. So what is a parent to do?
Now, Ms. Perry says the other school options she was given are not safe as well, in her opinion. She hopes to move her son to virtual learning or possibly even homeschool in the near future. All right, 19-year-old Darian Gamble is now in police custody this morning. He is being charged in a double shooting that happened in Northeast Baltimore on February 4th. Police say Gamble shot a 60-year-old woman and a 17-year-old man along Medford Road. He's charged with attempted first-degree murder and remains in central booking. Elsewhere, in a city in crisis, the Baltimore Squeegee Collaborative plan has been in place for a month now, and the mayor's office is asking for donations to pay Squeegee kids as part of this plan. Fox 45's Olivia Dance is looking into the campaign and if residents are actually donating.
Throughout downtown Baltimore, the fundraising campaign for Squeegee Kids can be seen rotating through on these electric signs. It's not up right now, but I have seen it since standing here. But this specific sign off of Fleet Street is just blocks away from where Squeegee Kids are now banned. Driving through Baltimore, chances are you will likely come across Squeegee Kids.
I don't feel like you can come into Baltimore and not experience the Squeegee Kids.
For months, Squeegee Kids have been harassing drivers.
I feel like the idea of the squeegee kids or boys or whatever is out there is like more of a negative image.
I know it's off-putting to a lot of people, especially if you're visiting and you're not from here.
But under Mayor Brandon Scott's new Squeegee Collaborative plan, Squeegee Kids are banned from 6 intersections across the city. On January 10th, that enforcement began, and Baltimore police confirmed that since then, 19 warnings have been given for pedestrians walking and standing in roadways.
I don't see any problem with giving warnings. The issue is with so few warnings given, it really makes you wonder if there's any enforcement going on at all.
Former Baltimore Police Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson worries that enforcement isn't really happening. And our cameras catching some Squeegee Kids still coming back night after night. And now, as part of the mayor's plan, a city-backed campaign is asking residents to donate money to help fund Squeegee Kids' goals.
These are really difficult economic times. Inflation is still high. You know, people are really pinched financially, and it's highly doubtful that any extra money they do have, they're going to send to Squeegee Kids, which traditionally have been a problem in the city of Baltimore.
The campaign launched last month, advertised on electric signs downtown, is pushing donors to a website. But as of Friday, only $40 has been donated, nowhere near the campaign's goal. Taxpayer watchdog David Williams thinks the lack of donations speaks volumes.
Baltimore City folks seem to be voicing their opinion through this campaign is that they're not willing to pay to solve this, that this is the city's responsibility and the city needs to figure this out.
Some city residents we spoke to agree.
I feel like that's the part of it why some people don't want to help. They feel as though the misconduct is nothing going to do nothing but support the bad habits.
Some people in Baltimore probably had like negative experiences with the Squeegee Kids, so sometimes people have one bad experience and that kind of taints whether or not they want to give to something like that.
Some residents we spoke to also think people are unaware of the campaign and just haven't seen these signs, which could be another reason there's so few donations. But David Williams thinks that even if people are aware, they would be unlikely to donate because this really should be the city's responsibility. For now, reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
The second phase of the Squeegee Collaborative Plan is also in effect. A police memo stated they would begin giving out citations on February 10th to anyone who received 2 previous verbal warnings about squeegeeing. The police department confirms that since January 10th, at least 19 warnings have been given out to pedestrians for walking and standing in roadways. A plastic bag ban signed into law in Baltimore County. How long you will have to get a reusable one before you face a fee every time you shop.
And it's a chilly start to the weekend, but it's not going to last. The 50s are already back tomorrow, and then the 60s are on the way again this week. I'll let you know when we could even be flirting with 70 in the week ahead in a couple of minutes. It's 9:37. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News.
Coming up this week on Full Measure, there have long been claims about political and racial bias in media. We'll hear from one man who is a high-ranking media official and says he has some startling specifics. Find out what happened when he blew the whistle on the inside. We'll also report on more controversy at the FDA. The agency recently repeated its questioned approval of an Alzheimer's drug that many say has too much risk and not enough benefit. And the U.S. rivalry with China is blasting off toward a new arena, the moon. Will China beat out the U.S. by being first to claim the moon's incredibly valuable resources? Lisa Fletcher will report on that. All this week on Full Measure.
Happening now, Bring Your Own Bag is officially coming to Baltimore County. It bans single-use plastic bags, and County Executive Johnny Olszewski signed that measure that will start being enforced next year.
Well, I was proud to support the legislation when the council put it in. Thrilled to see it passed. Grateful again to our partners. Let's sign this thing into law.
In addition to banning single-use plastic, the bill also imposes a 5-cent fee for paper bags. This is pretty similar to policies in effect in Baltimore City. Happening now, it is Shop Maryland Energy Weekend, meaning there is no 6% tax on some of those big household items like dishwashers, dryers, refrigerators. All that qualify as Energy Star eligible will be eligible for savings. Comptroller Brooke Learman joined us at 9 with all that we needed to know about that tax-free weekend. You can watch the full interview on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Tiger Woods back in the competitive spirit. He's at a tournament for the first time in years, rather 1 year. But some hijinks on the course are prompting an apology. And we're just 1 day away from Daytona 500. Up next, we are learning more about the polarizing driver who's kicking off his NASCAR season with a new team. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. The Daytona 500 is only 1 day away, and there's already some folks here we're seeing on the give me the name. Of course. All right, well, the driver who will be kicking off the season in NASCAR with a brand new team, Kyle Busch, he just signed a contract with RCR Racing and traded his number 18 Toyota for the number 8 Chevy. Jill Jelwick from our sister station in Virginia has the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR and his journey.
I'm obviously excited about the chance and being with RCR and Chevrolet and driving the number 8 car, and it's going to be fun.
One of the biggest stars of NASCAR has a new team. After 15 seasons as the face of Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch is now the newest member of Richard Childress Racing and will be ditching the number 18 Toyota for the number 8 Chevrolet.
I bet you I'm going to have to think about it when we come down pit road for the first time, At least there's not going to be an 18 signboard out there for me to pull into, but to see the 8, just don't forget, find the 8.
When the move was first announced last September, it came as a complete shock. The team's owner, Richard Childress, infamously punched Busch during an altercation in 2011. The two long ago made amends, but the move to that team was still something Busch never saw coming.
No, absolutely not. No, I thought I'd be the face of Toyota and retiring as a Toyota guy, but wasn't meant to be, wasn't in the cards. So just fortunate enough that I had a call from Austin and Richard was willing to meet with me, and we all made a deal.
Busch's new teammate, Austin Dillon, is credited with bringing the two-time champion to RCR. Dillon wanted to continue to build off the team's momentum and believed Busch was the right guy.
I thought our company was heading in the right direction, and I knew the best free agent on the market was Kyle. And being around him and that fire that he carries, everybody, has to really elevate their game.
Busch admits the transition will take some time, but he's looking forward to a fresh start.
Getting used to everybody there and learning all the people and the faces and everything has been a bit of a challenge for me. I'm not great with that. I've been in the same place for 15 years, so I just know everybody. But now being in a new place, it kind of lends a fresh side and kind of having a fresh start.
You can watch the 65th Daytona 500 this Sunday on Fox 45. Our coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. with the green flag going up shortly thereafter. Trending now, the government in Spain is giving women some relief. Now, lawmakers approved a new measure allowing women to take medical leave for period pain. Women who've been diagnosed with a medical condition like endometriosis or polycystic ovaries will be able to take advantage of the temporary leave. It's paid for by the state. Data shows there are around 6,000 claims for temporary disability a year due to menstrual and medication issues. The Minister of Equality says the measure will help remove unwanted stigma around the topic. Tiger Woods is apologizing for a prank he pulled on Justin Thomas at the Genesis Invitational. Now, photos show both Woods subtly handing Thomas a tampon after outdriving him on the 9th hole. Critics say the joke was sexist. Woods emphasized he didn't mean any harm by it and was just having fun with a friend.
As I said, if I offended anybody in any way, shape, or form, I'm sorry. It was not intended to be that way. It's just, we play pranks on one another all the time, and virally, I think this did not come across that way.
Thomas seemed to take the joke in stride and appearing to toss the tampon to the ground. The two men could then be seen laughing as they walked down the fairway together. Alrighty, let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson for a look at our spring forward-ish forecast. We're really getting there.
Yeah, I mean, February hasn't been bad. We started off with 4 days below average, but since then, temperatures have pretty much been above average every single day, with the exception of last weekend. And this weekend will be similar. So the weeks have been mild, the weekends have been cold. This past week, we reached 60s and 70s, and that is averaging out to above average highs so far for the month. Normal average highs at 45 degrees. We're at a warmer 54, and we've had 7 days in the 60s and 70s so far, and we've actually got more to come this upcoming week. So right now we're starting off with sunshine and chilly temperatures. There's definitely a chill to begin. Upper 20s and low 30s right now. So that sunshine has some work to do to bring these numbers up. Today's definitely going to be the colder of the 2 weekend days. Both weekend days look nice and dry though. Not much happening on the weather map. At the edge of the screen you can see high pressure barreling in. That's going to continue to spread our direction as we head throughout the day today. So that's going to bring us clear skies and sunshine today. Tomorrow we'll start to see some clouds filter in, but we stay rain free. Same for Monday for the holiday. Couple of showers possible. I think most will hold off until later Monday and as we head into Tuesday as this next little weather maker pushes its way into the area. So for today, it's blue skies and sunshine. If you have anything to do outside, just bundle up. It's going to be a little chilly. We'll spend today in the mid and upper 40s this afternoon. Tonight's not quite as cold. Thanks to some increasing clouds, we'll spend this evening in the 40s and then eventually fall back into the upper 30s overnight. For President's Day on Monday, I'm tracking increasing clouds. I'm going to keep it mostly dry during the daylight hours here, and temperatures will actually be milder again. So a nice day for anything outside. Temperatures will be back in the mid and actually upper 50s by day's end. Rain chances stay down through Monday, but Tuesday into Wednesday, I am tracking that next weather maker. Sends us some spotty showers starting on Tuesday, and they become more scattered as we head through midweek. They'll actually linger through Thursday. But at least the rain comes with some milder temperatures. We've got low 60s back Tuesday and Wednesday, low 70s on Thursday. By Friday, we dry things out and cool things right back down. We're back in the mid 50s by the very end of the week. Taylor?
All right. We want to bring you an alert to a consumer recall. Now, these 8-ounce bags of Favorite Day branded milk chocolate, Valentine branded caramel covers, They're from Target. They were voluntarily recalled. They may contain tree nuts, which is not noted on its packaging. People who have allergies to tree nuts run the risk of serious or life-threatening allergic reactions if they consume these products. Now they're packed in stand-up pouches with the lot number 33822, and they have a Best By date of December 7th on 2023. So far, no illnesses to report. Netflix is removing its Surprise Me button. It's actually already done that if you haven't noticed. The feature added in 2021 was intended to help people so they didn't have to sort through countless titles just to find something to watch. Well, the company says they took it down because it was not really used. Netflix says they're going to continue to look for other ways to help consumers with more options to provide the content that interests them. The last remaining blockbuster in the U.S. released a retro Super Bowl ad on social media during the big game, and now their sales are up 200%. The one remaining store in Oregon posted the ad on social media since it could not afford to pay the $7 million rate for a spot on TV. But they certainly got their money's worth. The retro-themed commercial struck a chord with people who remember the good old days of roaming down the aisles in the video store, hoping to find a new release. All right, speaking of the Super Bowl, though, more than 100 million sports betting transactions were placed during Super Bowl weekend. That is up 25% compared to last year. This is according to Geo Company Comply. They process geolocations to check and verify your online sports bets. Super Bowl 57 was one of the first ones where states had already legalized sports betting. Barstool Sports has a new owner, and it's now fully owned by casino operator and entertainment company Penn Entertainment. The company completed its previously announced acquisition of the property just this past Friday, and they say they paid $388 million for the 64% stake in Barstool they did not already own. And anyone can share in the delights of Ted Lasso's famous biscuits. This is funny. Fans can now enjoy biscuits with the Boss flavored ice cream made by Jenny's. It's going to be available starting March 2nd. The name of the flavor is drawing inspiration from Jason's character, Ted Lasso, making homemade shortbread biscuits every morning to enjoy with his TV boss. Stick with Fox 45 Morning News after the break. Meteorologist Amy Aronson has her exclusive 7-day forecast.
9:56 on this pretty looking Saturday. Getting closer and closer to our opening day at Camden Yards. Not exactly feeling like baseball weather today, though. Upper 40s despite that sunshine. The good news is we're going to warm right back up starting tomorrow. We're back in the mid-50s. We're nearing 60 for the holiday on Monday. And then the 60s are back for a couple of days. There is a chance for some spotty showers Tuesday into Wednesday. They'll linger through Thursday. But look how warm Thursday is going to get. Low 70s are back briefly, so still not feeling like February. It's not going to last. It looks like we will be cooling down by Friday. We're back in the mid-50s, and I know we're not looking at next weekend just yet, Taylor, but there is an indication that it could get even colder and come with a chance for what we haven't seen this winter, some wintry weather. So we'll have to keep an eye on next weekend, and I'll have that forecast updated tomorrow. But this week looks like we're squeezing in another spring-like week in the middle of winter.
We're not getting our dose of winter. I'm not really upset about it, but
it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I hope y'all aren't either. Have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us here on Fox 45 News this Saturday morning.